Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So have mentioned this. I mentioned it yesterday. I don't know if I mentioned it before that, but I decided to record a new series of videos for the show with stories about Donald Trump supporters and their actions that could be considered domestic terrorism. Because over the years, I've been compiling a list of MAGA maniacs who have committed violent acts. And now seems like a very good time to revisit these cases because Trump's minions claim no, it's all the left. The left has been committing all of the violence. They're the ones that are under attack, the poor right. They're the ones who have to live with all of us violent people on the left. So today we're going to we're going to kick this off with Florida man Cesar Sayoc. You guys will remember him, I believe. It has been a while, so taking it back to 2018, taking it back to the old school, because I'm an old fool who's so cool. Anyway, all right. So in 2018, this man you see here on your screen, 57, at that time, 57-year-old Cesar Sayoc was arrested. He sent explosive devices to 13 different targets. So the devices were packed with shards of glass because he wanted the victims to be as harmed as possible, as torn up as possible by the shrapnel. And he mailed these explosives to each of the victims. This was over a course of 5 days. And many of these intended targets were current or former government officials. So here's who Sayer targeted. Spoiler alert, it wasn't any MAGA Republicans, I'll put it that way. So Joe Biden, Senator Cory Booker, a Democrat, former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, Hillary Clinton, CNN, actor Robert De Niro, Kamala Harris, former Attorney General Eric Holder, who served under Barack Obama. Also, Barack Obama was targeted. Billionaire George Soros, Democratic presidential candidate Thomas Steyer, and Congresswoman Maxine Waters. So primarily Democrats, and all of those people I just named were Trump's perceived enemies because they dared to speak out against him. Now, luckily, Sayoc was inept, so none of the devices exploded. But this situation, if you remember this caused real panic and terror throughout the country because beyond the fact that someone was trying to kill Trump's adversaries, people who work for the Postal Service were freaked out. Like, you don't know what's in a package, right? Any of them could have been killed. And the family members of these intended victims could have been killed. I mean, could have been children, right? Send your kid out to go get the mail. Or even if you get the mail and your child is there when you're opening it. I mean, it was terrifying. So very scary. Fortunately, Sayoc was arrested within a week of the first device being identified and found. And the FBI, the way they found him was they found a fingerprint on one of the bombs. Well, in 2019, Sayoc pleaded guilty to 65 federal charges. 16 counts of using a weapon of mass destruction, 16 counts of interstate transportation of an explosive device, 16 counts of conveying a threat in interstate commerce, 16 counts of the illegal mailing of explosives with the intent to kill or injure others, and 1 count of using an explosive to commit a felony. Sayoc admitted that he sent these explosives to try to injure these victims. And even though he and his family that later claimed, oh, I would never hurt anyone, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. One of his cousins said, oh, these bombs were a hoax. He literally used the word hoax. And he falsely claimed that Sayoc was just trying to get attention. And he said to, quote, get his opinion out there. At his sentencing hearing, Sayoc blamed his actions on mental illness. He also blamed steroid use because apparently this guy was a bodybuilder and he was all juiced up. Like, and you could tell, like he had that puffy appearance. It wasn't just muscle. He looked puffy, like he was using steroids. So yeah, he admitted it. And Sayoc told the judge, quote, "I should have listened to my mother, the love of my life. I wish more than anything I could turn back time and take back what I did. But I want you to know, Your Honor, with all my heart and soul, I feel the pain and suffering of these victims." Luckily, the judge took this matter seriously. He ended up sentencing Sayoc to 20 years in prison. So who is this Cesar Sayoc? How do we know that he's a Trump supporter, right? Because MAGA is going to tell you, oh, we don't know. Even though he targeted all of Donald Trump's adversaries, even though he only primarily went after Democrats and a few Republicans who spoke out against Trump, how do we know he's MAGA? Okay. Well, Sayoc was registered as a Republican at the time of these crimes. He was living in a van down by the river. Anyway, he was living in his van and he was working as a pizza delivery driver at the time, also a bouncer at a strip club. Well, the owner of the pizza store would not allow him to use his van for deliveries during the day. And she made him, or I think it was a he, made him park the van on the side of the store so that customers wouldn't see it. Here's why. Take a look at this. This is Sayoc's van. So as you can see, he has pictures on every single window. I don't know how he got away with this. I mean, typically you have to be able to see through the windows to drive a vehicle. But here is a close-up on one of the windows on Sayoc's van. So for those of you on the podcast, the windows are covered in images of Donald Trump, some of them with Mike Pence, some of them just of Mike Pence. They were interspersed with images of some of his targets and then other very well-known Democrats and people who were against Trump. So there's Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. There were other people you can see here, like documentary filmmaker Michael Moore, CNN host Van Jones. He has a sticker that says CNN sucks. All of these people he hates have bullseyes on their faces. There's also a photo of people running. I know you guys can't see it, but I found this photo. People who were running, and it says, quote, "I have a dream. Millions of liberals cross the border illegally into Mexico to escape Donald Trump's presidency." There's a bullseye over those people as well. So yeah, I'm going to say he was a MAGA man. And then check this out. So a mechanic, this is a photo, by the way, for you guys of Sayoc at a Trump event. And he's holding up a sign that says, "Welcome, President Trump." Anyway, there was a mechanic who regularly worked on Sayoc's van. And he told the Guardian news outlet, quote, "The van was kind of weird. Stuff like, 'Thank God we have a president with balls' on the side of it." He never spoke about anything political. He was always talking about car parts, but he wouldn't let you look inside the van, not even a peek. I helped him change the oil once. It was just, "Hey, I need this done," and open the hood. And then here's how the owner of the pizzeria describes Sayoc and his van. She said, quote, or he, "It was puppets with their heads cut off, mannequins with their heads cut off, Ku Klux Klan, a black person being hung, anti-gay symbols, torchings, bombings, you name it. It was all over his truck. He was very angry at the world, at blacks, Jews, gays. He always talked about, if I had complete autonomy, none of these gays or these blacks would survive." He was very, very strange. He would categorize himself as a white supremacist. He would just say, "Take back the world." That's what he would say, always say, "Take back the world." So, a mentally unstable bigot and a MAGA man. Wow. We rarely see that, do we? Such a shock there. And take a look. Here's another photo of Sayoc at another event, standing outside in front of what looks like a Trump Vance or Trump Pence van or bus, and holding a Trump Pence poster, giving a thumbs up. And one of Sayoc's cousins also mentioned his bigotry. So this cousin told the Washington Post he saw Sayoc at a holiday get-together, and then after that, Sayoc started sending him racist text messages. And his cousin told the Washington Post, quote, "He didn't discuss politics. This had to be when Trump got in, very recently, that he lost his mind." Again, never see that. Here's another photo of Sayoc at another event. You can see him screaming his guts out, his face bright red from screaming so loud, his fist clenched. So, yeah. And The Guardian wrote, quote, "On social media, Sayoc's extremism was more prominent. He had several Twitter and Facebook accounts where he posted right-wing conspiracy theories, racist memes, and abusive or threatening messages to those who did not share his political views. He also uploaded videos of himself wearing a red MAGA hat and holding banners at Trump rallies." But I'm sure he's an Antifa, psycho, anarchist, left-winger. And here's another photo of Sayoc at another event. Sign says CNN sucks. You can see behind him people with Trump shirts, Trump posters. And then another big shock. Sayoc has a lengthy criminal history dating back 25 years. So he has charges for things like theft, battery, larceny, fraud, domestic violence, drug possession, and threatening to blow up the office of his electricity company because he didn't like his bill. His bill was too high. So as everyone does, he called and said, "I'm going to blow up your office." Actually, if I remember correctly, he said something to them like, "It's going to be worse than 9/11. Yeah. So there you go, guys. That is the first installment of the new series that I'm going to be doing. So please share this far and wide because younger voters especially might not be aware of these cases. And there are a lot more. There are many more where this came from. So stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to be doing these on a regular basis. So keep an eye out, share them all so everybody understands that no, actually it is the right wing. And we know that based on statistics. We know that based on even conservative groups that have done studies, that the majority of the violence committed in this country, political violence, comes from the right wing. All right. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.